We wait till I start it. Okay. I'm doing this. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the October 11th regular board meeting of the Ames Community School District Board of Directors. I will call the meeting to order and entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second. Moved by Bankin, seconded by Colton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. Director Colton, will you please read our purpose statement?
The Ames Community School District commits to equity and access that empowers every individual to reach their full personal and educational potential.
Thank you. And our first agenda item this evening is our COVID-19 update, and I will turn it over to Dr. Kathy Arnold.
Sabrina, one question.
Yes.
Are the speakers on? Can anybody else hear each other?
Oh. Maybe they're not.
We couldn't. It was harder to hear people.
Oh, now they are.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Apologies if you could not hear us. Dr. Arnold, we will turn it over to you.
Sounds great. Good evening. I'm going to start, as usual, on our first slide with our Story County data. Story County remains at a high level of community transmission. The most recent CDC numbers at the time I prepared the report are as follows. Story County is currently high with 232.71 total new cases per 100,000 persons in the past 7 days, which represents about a 20 case decrease from our report 2 weeks ago. Our 7-day positivity is 12.8%, which is up a bit from our last presentation. Additionally, as of the last IDPH report, 25% of the new cases in Story County are in those 0 to 17 years of age, which is actually fairly consistent with our last report of 24%. As far as vaccinations, we've seen about a 0.5% increase in vaccination in Story County since the last meeting. Currently, 56.2% of Story County residents are fully vaccinated, and an additional 3.6% are partially vaccinated. Of the population eligible for vaccination, so if you drop off those under 12, 63.1% are fully vaccinated, and an additional 4.0% are partially vaccinated. The next slide shows our student and staff data. At the time the report was prepared, we have 7 students and 7 staff members currently positive for COVID-19. We have had 89 total students positive and 21 staff positive since the beginning of the school year. And if you analyze the data, 60% of the positive cases in students are in the PK elementary area, and 71% of those specifically have been in PK through 6th grade. So if you add the 6th graders onto that. The trend in positives continues in our staff. 66% of the positive cases in staff are in the PK to elementary, and 65% of those positive have been breakthrough cases in our fully vaccinated staff. We have seen a decrease in the reported number of students positive for COVID since implementation of the mask mandate. Our highest point of students positive this year was a total of 23 out at one time, and we're now down to 7. We've seen an increase in the number of staff testing positive for COVID, and again, those are those breakthrough vaccinated cases. On the next slide, you'll see some other COVID-related topic updates. The first is related to the mask requirement. Just a brief update on the Iowa mask lawsuit. On Friday, October 8th, the judge who had previously entered that temporary restraining order, which allowed us to institute a mask requirement, granted a preliminary injunction that prevents the state from enforcing the ban on the mask mandates. It's a lot of like double negatives there, but in that case is being appealed to the 8th District Court of Appeals, so we can still continue with our mask requirement. Next, on some brief vaccine updates, the FDA is meeting this week on boosters for Moderna and J&J, so when we get information on that, we will direct our staff who have had Moderna or J&J to public health, since the majority of our staff did get Pfizer. So we do have some people who are looking for those boosters. we're working directly with public health for those once that becomes a possibility. And Pfizer has also submitted the vaccine for approval for those 5 to 11 years old. And the meeting where that looks like that might take place is on October 26th. So still a little bit away, with maybe vaccines available for that population by Halloween. My fingers are crossed, we hope so. At this point, we're not planning on holding a clinic for the 5 to 11-year-olds. We've been partnering and talking with McFarland on letting them handle that for a multitude of reasons. And we will be providing community resources for vaccination once that happens. And finally, just want to share what we've done here at the district for our Pfizer COVID boosters. We had a clinic on Friday, October 1st, and gave 150 vaccine boosters for our staff. And the second clinic is on the 22nd, and we still have about 25 appointment spots available. If those fill up, then we'll look at either partnering again for another clinic or directing people to Story County Public Health, depending on volume. That completes my report. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Arnold.
Thank you.
All right, we will take any comments from the public on our COVID-19 update. So if anyone has a comment on the COVID-19 update, you could come up to the microphone. And please state your name and address.
Hello, I'm Christopher Cusack, 5616 Maryland Street in Ames. I have 2 kids in 6th and 7th grade. And I just wanted to state again that I don't believe that the mask mandates are necessary. I don't even think that the way that we're doing it is very practical. I mean, there's only been one random cluster sample study that's been done. It was the Bangladesh study. It showed that cloth masks gave no effect to stopping, and those were high quality masks, at least 3 layers. KN95s are obviously the best choice, and the surgical masks are second best choice. Also, a little concerned about the kids just because I know my kids several times, and I've heard from several other parents are coming home with other kids' masks. They're dripping in sweat, everything else. I think it's kind of being counterproductive to make them wear masks when they're trading masks. I mean, there's not a lot of parents that can wash it every night. I work, like I said, in a factory for 10 to 12 hours a day. I go home and I'm the only one to take care of my kids. I do enough laundry as it is. I can't make special mask ones. And you guys have been very great. The school has on giving more masks to all the parents and all the students. I know my kids come home with random ones from the school, ones from their friends. And like I said, my son's especially, it's just soaked in drool by the end of the day. So it feels more like it's for presentation. I'm not saying any of you or the school district in general feels like it's more for presentation than not, because if it is, maybe we should look a little bit more into doing masks that actually work, such as surgical mask KN95s instead of 1 layer of cloth mask of 3 didn't work in Bangladesh. Then I highly doubt that 1 layer is doing any good. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. Any other comments from the public on the COVID-19 update? All right, seeing none, I will move on to our discussion items. And our first item is our board committee update. And we will start with the policy committee.
The policy committee, we met a week and a half ago, and the 3 policies that are up for discussion are coming up on the next item on the agenda, so I won't discuss those, and we meet again this Wednesday.
Thank you. Facilities committee.
The meeting notes aren't here, but one thing I wanted to bring up, because there is the AHS monthly project report. There continues to be an item on there that's of increasing concern of issues related to material supply chains. Story is doing a lot of things to reschedule things and rework things and reorder things to try to work around that, but that continues to be something they're pretty concerned about and that we're monitoring closely. The committee basically left it with them that we trust what they're doing great work. Try to let us know as soon as possible if anything looks like it's going to become an issue, but they're continuing to do almost, it sounds like, resequencing every couple of days because of it. So just something to be aware of.
Quick question. So at this point, we haven't talked about delays
Nope.
Nothing like that.
We had that discussion, and Story says that there's nothing that makes them think right now that we won't hit the dates that we had set. And that's why they're doing the resequencing. So basically they're changing the order of how certain things are happening so that we can still hit things. But as we get closer to the end, there's less things that can be reordered. And if there is something that doesn't come in that's needed, then it's going to be harder. But as we've seen in some of the change orders really are related to substituting in something else that they can get as opposed to what was originally planned. So just something for us to monitor the next few months as we start getting closer to the end.
And Ellen, I'm assuming that that will probably have some impact on costs.
That'd be more a question for Story and Jerry, but so far I wouldn't. The contingency, we still have it more in the contingency than maybe we had planned at this point. So we're still doing well on the costs and all of that too. So everything's looking good. It's not a red flag, just keep watching it because they're monitoring it very closely.
All right, thank you. Are there any other committee updates? And do we have any comments from the public on our board committee updates? All right, we will move on to our policies for discussion. And our first one is I don't know, do you want to give an overview of all of these at once or do you want to go through them?
Sure, again, do you want me to do them or do you want Superintendent Vincent? I mean, they're all driven from, as it said in the minutes, many of these are still ones that are driven from our review from ISD this summer. And I'm trying to remember this one, the biggest one was adjustment. I think it was the selection of architects and engineers. And again, it was just providing some clarity of some information. And then it's rather than annually, it's on an as needed basis. And again, it's all right in the minutes, but minor changes. So.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board on the policies for discussion?
Yeah, if I may.
Yes.
We all received a message last week from a parent who was concerned about a human-driven emergency in our school buildings, which is a horrifying prospect to contemplate. But I assume that that is a part of our emergency plans, even though, of course, it is not a public one.
That is correct, and we actually have an allowance to keep our incidents of that sort, those plans confidential. So it's referenced, but it is not contained in the public document.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the policies for discussion? And any comments from the public on the policies for discussion? All right, we will move on to our diversity, equity, and inclusion update, and I will turn it over to Dr. Anthony Jones.
Good evening. My name is Candace Collins, and
I think it's on. I don't think it's on. There you go. Thank you.
good evening. My name is Candace Collins, and I am the Ames Community School District McKinneyVento liaison, and I also work with Student Family Resources. What I do is make sure that the district is adhering to the McKinneyVento.
I'm sorry, I still can't hear you. Are you sure it's on? Just hold it nice and close.
Can you hear me?
Oh, that's
Okay.
perfect. Thank you.
All right. Sorry about that. What I do is make sure that the district is adhering to the McKinneyVento laws. I ensure that the students know their rights immediately when being displaced, as far as enrollment, transportation, documentation, things of that sort. I identify the homeless in our community and unaccompanied youth. I assist with school stability, school access, and support for academic success for all of our students in this program, and advocate for students and families experiencing or are at risk of being homeless. On the next slide, it's just basically defining homelessness, and it's any individual who lacks a fixed, regular, or adequate nighttime residence. So whether it's a shelter, transitional housing, a hotel, motel, if you're living with a friend or a family member, in a car, the fairgrounds, anything that's not regular or comfortable, that's basically what homelessness is defined as. Right now in our district, we have 54 students that have been identified. I believe the number is not accurate at all, but we have to get better at our process of identifying our displaced youth. The Ames School District has identified and served families with immediate resources. At least 24% of the families served are non-English speaking families. Some of the resources that we have help families with are food, rental assistance, school supplies, books, Wi-Fi, employment, transportation, childcare, and mental health. The next slide is how we can improve the identification process, which is very important. What we already have in place is our online registration, which is a simple yes or no question: are you homeless? I strongly believe that if we could identify more students, if we provide them with a multiple choice answer to best describe their living situation, such as what I mentioned earlier, whether or not they're doubled up, living with family or friends, hotel, motel, shelter, transitional living, living in a car, or no shelter in place at all. Also through the program, we have the Hope Pantry. Through the Hope Pantry, families are welcome to food supply, clothing, closet, personal hygiene items, basic household items. And those things can be accessed through our request form on our district website. Right now we have the food box request form in place, and we're moving towards having a resource request form as well. To access that, you can go on the website under our Hope Food Pantry program, and it's an online assistance tab. Complete the form, and I will receive a confirmation email to you or text, and we'll get those resources to those families. We have various community partners under the program as well. We are partnered with the Food Bank of Iowa, Salvation Army, the Bridge Home, United Way, and our program also receives contributions from the community and personal donors and churches such as Cornerstone, Hope Lutheran, Calvary, United Methodist, Collegiate Presbyterian, and Delta Kappa Gamma, and the list really goes on, but those are some of our main donors. Do you all have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I want to say thank you, because my understanding is you've been pretty instrumental in some of the food boxes and with the Hope Pantry, especially initially in the when the pandemic hit. So I just want to thank you for all of your efforts in really supporting our families and some real basic needs that they needed to have support from. So appreciate your leadership and your efforts. So.
And I'd like to follow up on that. I think your idea of replacing the yes/no question with a more multifaceted approach would be very helpful. I'm hoping this could be implemented soon.
Yes.
To assist in giving families what they need. I'm just wondering, the community partners, do they supply physical goods, or I imagine some of this is financial support, like for example, Bridge Home or Salvation Army. Mm-hmm. Those are partners, or?
Yeah, those are resources for housing and things like that. But we have a lot of people that donate physical goods, food, things like that, and they send checks over, or they might just call me up and say, hey, I have abundance of something and we want to help. So, the community is very resourceful in Ames.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm having a hard time keeping it together here. I'm an immigrant myself, and every time I feel that our communities are always they're most represented in all this data. So to see that at least 24 of the families served are not English-speaking families is hard, given our overall numbers in the district, right? So that's nothing to say about the work you're doing. It's just the condition of our society, and it is hard to sit here meeting after meeting, and it's always our communities, the ones that continue to struggle. So I'm really having a hard time with this, but I'm also very grateful. I mean, most of all, I'm grateful for you because I know that you're doing all this work, grassroots efforts. The fact that we have 54 and you say it's not accurate, you know it.
Right.
You just know it. It's not accurate at all, right? And I can see that all your work is grassroots work. And ever since you became part of this work, I feel like you gave this job dignity. You treat our families with dignity, and you have used all the resources that we have in town. So I'm grateful for it. Just my reaction to it is just that every time we have a need is always our brown and black families. And it's hard. It's really hard, but I want to thank you because I know your job. It's really tricky, and you have done amazing, and you have treated all of these families with the dignity that they deserve. Thank you.
Well, I don't think I can say it any better than that, but I did want to check, are there barriers to changing those questions in Infinite Campus, or is that something we can follow up on? I don't know. Who might know?
Let us look into that.
Okay.
I think we have something to.
Thank you.
I guess one question I would have is, as a board, what's the largest need you have or thing that we could do over the next year to help more with our homeless students and to do more to help the efforts that you're going and doing?
Well, to me, it was emergency housing, things like that. But we've kind of worked through that, and we've gotten a system in place where if we do have a family and we don't have that much time and we needed to get them placed, immediately, that was something that I was adamant about, putting in place. So that's something that we worked out, and that's something that it's been available, and it's been helpful because if the access or bridge home or shelters, they don't have that space right then and there. We are in a place now we can give our families at least 48 hours, and we can work through it and help them. That was like the biggest need, and I'm grateful, with Dr. Jones and the whole department for that. It's just been a good year. After a pandemic and things like that, it's more of a community in crisis, in crisis mode. So it's like, okay, we got to figure this out, and we've been figuring it out together. So that's a good thing.
All right. Thank you so much for presenting.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me.
Do we have any comments from the public on the DEI update? All right. Seeing none, I will go ahead and open our public forum, and I will read our statement on public comments. Residents of the district, students attending the district, parents or guardians of students attending the district, and district staff members may address the board about any topic relevant to the district, whether on the current agenda or not. Those who wish to speak must sign up at the beginning of the meeting. Speaker participation is limited to 3 minutes once per item. The views and opinions of citizens addressing the board do not necessarily reflect those of the board, district administration, or staff. Speakers are to remember that Iowa law prohibits the board from discussing specific employees, students, or their performance. Student speakers will state their name and school. Others will state their name and address. And we have one person signed up, Christopher Cusack.
Hello, Christopher Cusack, 5616 Maryland Street in Ames. And I wanted to thank the school board members that got back to me not only about the COVID, but also about what I spoke about last time about the violence. And I've been doing a lot of thinking about it. And I think there's a lot of reasons for it. Number one, I think kids need to be held accountable in every way. And I think a lot of that accountability has been lost. I've seen my kids specifically go half a school year and hiding assignments, turning in blank ones, and they're still allowed to turn in for full credit. That does affect the kids. That teaches them that there's no accountability for all their things. Now the teachers have been really great with helping for it with that. And I know my kid is not the only kid that does this. We have lost a lot of accountability. Now, in the schools, you guys have let me know, well, not personally, but I can see from my students and stuff, people getting suspended. And after the fact, I really think we need to attack this problem from a root cause analysis. We need to find out why the kids are acting this way. Me personally, I think there's a lot of different reasons for it. I think number one, we've scared these kids for the past year and a half, especially. We have with COVID, we've scared them with race, we've scared them with everything. And that us adults might be able to process these complex issues and everything else like that. Kids do not have all that ability to do it. We taught them that all inequality equals inequity. That's not true either. I think we need to individually take these kids that are having problems. I think we need to get them mental health resources. And I think we need to just give it more of a school type approach. Like my kids can tell you what a pansexual, a transsexual, and asexual are. They did the other night. I didn't even know most of those terms, but my kids couldn't show you on a map where China, Russia, Iraq, or Afghanistan is. And I think that we've made these kids very antsy when it comes to race. I know when I was in Iraq and Afghanistan on my fire team, I had Guatemala, I had a Mexican guy, myself, and another white guy. And race never came up once. Now, are there disparities with race, with different issues? Yes, of course there is. Can some of it be traced back when there was systemic racism in the United States? Yes, of course it could. You'd be foolish to say that none of it plays an effect. But I think this really affects kids on a deeper level than us adults and what we are able to handle versus what they are able to handle. And sorry, I got off on a little tangent there. But like I said, we need to hold these kids accountable. We need to find out these individuals, what's causing these issues. I think a lot of it also comes back to the parents. There's a lot of divide between parents on political issues and everything else. I go online and I see people going at each other's throats left and right over small things or things that can't be proven. So I think at home, parents need to cool it down a little bit on everything. And I think in the school, maybe, having a little bit more schoolwork would be a good idea. Thank you.
Thanks, Christopher. Are there any members of our Zoom meeting who would like to speak as part of the public forum? Please raise your hand if so, and you'll be given permission to speak. Seeing none, I will close our public forum and we will move on to our consent agenda, and I'll entertain a motion.
I move the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved by Beerbaum, seconded by Franzen. Superintendent Vincent.
Once again, we have several donations to recognize. We have a gift from the Burke Family Foundation, a gift from Annie Almquist, a gift from Michelle Graw, a gift anonymous to the Meeker PTO, and we have a gift from the Delta Kappa Gamma Society International at Iowa State. And please know that we very much appreciate these gifts. They are heavily going towards some extracurricular activities, co-curricular activities, and some of our clothing pantries and food sources for the district.
Thank you. It was moved by Beerbaum, seconded by Franzen. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. Moving on to our action items. Our first item is the new course proposal, Spanish Heritage course.
I move the board approve the Spanish Heritage course as presented.
Second.
Moved by Colton, seconded by Bankin. Discussion?
I'm very excited for this. Happy to vote for it.
Yes, same. It's pretty awesome. Thank you. Yeah, it's really, really great. And I think I forgot to tell them thank you when they came. And I was like, and I was going to say gracias. And I missed it. So it's all good.
All right. Moved by Colton, seconded by Bankin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. New high school project bid issuance number 3.
I move the board set the date of public hearing on December 13th. Oh, shoot, sorry. Scratch that. I move the board approve plans and specifications, form of contract, notice to bidders, advertisement to bid, and estimated total cost for the new high school project, bid issuance number 3, bid package 02-1, building demolition, and bid package 32-3, exterior improvements.
Second.
Moved by Beerbaum, seconded by Franzen. Discussion?
I'm going to call attention to the word demolition is in there, and that's a form of celebration because that means the end is approaching, which means the new one is coming. So,
Thank you. And Chris, is this a roll call vote?
No.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0.
I move the board set the date of public hearing on December 13th, 2021, and direct the board secretary to publish the notice no sooner than November 24th, 2021.
second.
Moved by Beerbaum, seconded by Franzen. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. New high school project, professional services for asbestos abatement.
I move the board approve the professional services agreement with Impact 7G for asbestos consulting services related to the demolition of the municipal swimming pool in the amount of $7,360.
Second. Moved by Franzen, seconded by Limkaitis. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0.
I move the board approve the professional services agreement with Impact 7G for asbestos containing material survey and report related to the demolition of the old Ames High School building in the amount of $39,940.
Second. Moved by Franzen, seconded by Limkaitis. Discussion?
I had a question about this one. Sorry, it just wasn't clear. So it's just the survey and the report. It's not any actual removal. Is that correct?
And
Yes.
Yes.
Jerry is answering yes for those of you who may not be able to hear him.
Thanks, Jerry. So then we'll get a second motion for the actual, assuming it's approved, what they actually want to do, right? This is just what do you call it? Estimate.
3 steps to the process. First step is to be able to survey the building and identify all of the asbestos containing materials. And that's what this one is for. This is for the 330,000 square foot main high school building. The next step then is they'll prepare plans and specifications so that they can bid the project. And included with that, then the consultant will monitor, do air sampling, and they'll be on site. So they'll observe the abatement. Then when it's all completed, then they'll do a final closure report. And the third step that kind of works simultaneously is the actual abatement itself. So once we bid the abatement work, That's to go in and put the protections and safeties and then get all the asbestos containing materials out of the building. That will be bid, and then we'll bring that forward for approval.
Thanks, Jerry.
And I would just like to note that the Tribune this weekend noted that some of our Ames High swimmers felt very sentimental about their last appearance in our old pool, but they must be the only people who will be sorry to see it go. It's thrilling to think about a beautiful new facility.
Yeah. One thing to point out, the swimming pool demolition is going to begin in March. So we need to be able to get the swimming pool portion out or demolished partially so we can get the final utilities and the service road between the new building and the existing building right there. There's kind of a bottleneck there. So we'll be moving forward to be able to coordinate that with the project work. So it'll be just the swimming pool. So that's why they're kind of two separate ones. They're two separate requests here for professional services.
And that's ongoing, oh, I'm sorry, that's ongoing while the students are in school then? Is March, right?
The last day of swimming pool existence or use is February 28th of 2022.
But I mean, in general, the whole building, students are still at school, at the high school.
Yes, so the swimming pool, the way that's attached as an appendage to the existing facility, we'll be able to separate that without any trouble or any problems.
Mhm.
I'm excited.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was moved by Franzen, seconded by Limkaitis. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. Property disposal, miscellaneous cabinets and furniture.
I move the board approve through public auction the sale of miscellaneous cabinets, countertops, and casework salvaged from Mitchell Elementary renovation and wobble stools. Well, I want one of those. Portable sinks and miscellaneous excess furniture.
Second.
Moved by Bankin, seconded by Franzen. Discussion?
I love these auctions.
Wobble stools.
I know. I've got tons of desks in my basement from old fellow, so.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. Moving on to our policies for action. Our first one is equal educational opportunity.
I move the board approve the policy as presented.
Second?
Moved by Franzen, seconded by Acker. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. And there we go. Anti-bullying, anti-harassment policy.
It was one motion for all of them.
Oh, it was one motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's just misleading because I said singular policy where there were three.
Okay.
So I don't know if that impacts anything.
No, that was just me. Thank you. All right, moving on to our board and staff items. I do not have any requests for staff currently. I did want to give a brief update about the superintendent search. Many of you probably know that we are holding focus groups this week on Thursday and Friday. We will have, I don't know the full number, but I believe it's about 200 people maybe that have been invited to participate in focus groups with the search firm to talk about what they want to see in the next superintendent. I'm aware that one of those evenings does conflict with a school board candidate forum, and we apologize about that. We had to stay on our tight schedule with the search, and so in order to make that happen, we had to keep it on that date. So that is the next step in the process. We have our survey that is active as well. So if you have not participated in that survey, please do so. And that closes Friday, I believe. So that is our search update. Any other items from the board?
I have an item that I guess I'd like board input on. I would like to hear from the district about the status of our ability to recruit EAs and custodians using the incentive program. And so if that's an onerous request, I would, I don't know if it is or not, if other board members would be interested in having that information.
Yeah, I'd like to. Yes, I would like to know as well.
I think I would maybe slightly expand it and just talk recruitment and staffing in general, because I know we've been recruiting not only just EAs and custodians, but there'd been discussion of difficulty with other staff recruitment. So getting kind of an update on where we are on that.
But I think that's great. I'd like to know that too, but I am specifically interested in the response to the incentive program, because I'd like to know is if that's an effective tool, just generally. So that information, that specific kind of information is important, but I agree. I would also like to hear about recruitment, and I don't even want, I'm going to stop now because part of what I want to say is and where the openings are, but that's, I don't want to be onerous, but I'm just curious.
Thank you. Other items from the board?
I would just say I would like to continue to thank staff and teachers and building principals for all the hard work they've been doing. I know it's not the type of year we all hoped it would be. And I know that we added to the weight of some of the teachers with the mask guidance and things like that. But I thank them for all the work they're doing in the classroom every day and in the buildings every day. And just wanted to let them know we understand and we thank them for all that.
Hear, hear. All right, items from the superintendent.
Just a couple this evening. First, I'd just like to pick up on Director Beerbaum's comments and extend thanks to our staff and our public. It was so exciting to see our COVID incident possibly, I say that very cautiously, possibly reaching a peak and maybe even starting down. And I know it's been a concerted effort, families and staff, in trying to use every mitigation strategy possible. I'm hopeful that pays off soon. And if we got that additional ability to vaccinate our younger children, that would just be a real relief, I think, to many of us. Secondly, I'd just like to acknowledge that we are in the early phases of certifying our annual head count. And as you all know, as board members, that's a critical piece to starting to look forward to building our budget for fiscal year 23 coming up. And staff have also worked very hard on making sure the students we have in our district, that we know who we are serving, we know which of our students may be being served in other places around the state. And we'll keep you posted as we are able to finalize that information. Beyond that, I don't think I have additional updates unless there'd be some questions that I could respond to.
Thank you. And then our final item is our board planning calendar. Our next regular board meeting will be on October 25th. And then we will follow that on the 26th with a work session with our superintendent search firm. And any questions or comments on the board planning calendar? All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Moved by Beerbaum, seconded by Benkin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. Thank you, everyone. Have a